I was sickened. I was sickened by this ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
There was some question today about if anyone else had walked from the...
You haven't been the cool club in so long. Like, leftists think that you're all a bunch of out-of-touch elitists. Right-wingers think that you're all a bunch of out-of-touch elitist pedophiles who drink the blood of children and use their adrenochrome to get superpowers. The cool club. Have you seen the videos where everyone was singing Imagine, Jim Carrey? Come on.
And he's unhinged and out of his mind and out of control.
Do you think One Punch Man is going to run around the room just knocking everyone out? This is really starting to feel like the scary black man trope. And like Jimmy is leaning into it real hard.
In an Instagram post, Smith said his reaction was, quote, unacceptable and inexcusable. Smith continued, quote, jokes at my expense are a part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally. I'm embarrassed, and my actions were not indicative of the man who I want to be. There's no place for violence in a world of love and kindness, he wrote. The Academy on Monday condemned Smith's actions and launched an inquiry into what happened.
Can I say once again, the only correct take is that multiple things can be bad at once. You can say that it's bad to insult someone for a medical condition they have, and bad to insult someone's family, a family member for a medical condition they have. And you should also not resort to violence if someone makes fun of you. And also know that if you put yourself in a situation where you are doing those actions, that person could react violently. I'm just saying that as a matter of, like, you know, if you're looking to protect yourself, this could result in violence because the person is being aggressively insulted for that. But yeah, like, I don't see why everyone has to be like, I'm Team Chris, I'm Team Will. You know, this is the side of the matter that I want to be on. This is the side of the matter that I want to be on. I feel like overwhelmingly the way that people have been analyzing this is that this can only be seen through the lens of toxic masculinity. And then other people are like, well, this can only be seen through the lens of racial profiling. Well, this can only be seen through the lens of, like, no, there's multiple things happening here. That's maybe why it's kind of interesting. There's multiple vectors intersecting at the same time, both by the action that happened itself and those who are watching it, witnessing, and doing, like, analysis of it. Like, you can definitely say that Judd Apatow is doing that thing where I think he's like, oh, black people being violent is very scary to me on television, so I'm gonna just say the most outrageous thing. Like, it's a couple of dudes slapping each other. I've seen it a million times, you know, by like a million different ethnicities. Like, it's something that happens. It's not that doesn't make it good. That doesn't make it the right thing. You can definitely be like, yeah, don't hit someone if they make fun of you. Do not resort to violence. If you want to live in a world where there are rules in place for that not to happen, guess what? You already do. All of you do. Yeah, that's assault. That's one of the rules. We have that. It's a law. So we've decided collectively as a society that you shouldn't be able to just hit someone if they make fun of you. Congrats. There you go. Does Chris want to press charges? No, he doesn't. So again, it's just a dispute very publicly between two super famous people on the world stage. I get all these things, but like at the end of the day, it's two dudes who slapped each other over an insult, and like the other one is like, I don't want to press charges, and then the other one was like, I shouldn't have done that, and I apologize. Boom. There you go. Like, the gall of some people to be like, the Academy must take away Will's award. Why? You won't take it away from the rapist. You won't take it away from a lot of the rapists. I'm sorry. What, now, the guy who slapped someone else on stage, that's beyond the pale? That's the moment where it's like, oh, this was too far. The Academy has to take a stance on this. But we will not stand for violence. Sexual violence towards minors, yes, Roman Polanski can keep his award. But when it comes to one person slapping another person on stage, oh no, such thing. Oh, the gall of Will. This will not stand. It's like, what the fuck? Come on, Oscars. You have no ground to be moral about anything ever. You've ceded that long ago in multiple ways. Let's see what Jim Carrey has to say about this.
I was sickened. I was sickened by this ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse, and it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
There was some question today about if anyone else had walked from the...
You haven't been the Cool Club in so long. Like, leftists think that you're all a bunch of out-of-touch elitists. Right-wingers think that you're all a bunch of out-of-touch elitist pedophiles who drink the blood of children and use their adrenochrome to get superpowers. Like, the Cool Club. Have you seen the videos where everyone was singing Imagine Jim Carrey? Come on.
Audience and done that, they would have been escorted out.
And don't get me wrong, there are exceptions to this rule. There certainly are. Danny DeVito, huge exception to the rule. Also, the Hulk, huge exception to the rule as well.
By security, or maybe even arrested. The police asked Chris if he wanted to file charges. They asked Chris, do you want to file charges? And Chris apparently said no, he did not.
He doesn't want the hassle.
All comedians are strongly in favor of Chris Rock. Yeah, because they think the floodgates have suddenly opened for the first time in human history. People, like, comedians have been decked at shows before. Again, it shouldn't happen. It's not a good thing. I'm not saying that you should punch a comedian because you didn't like their joke. I mean, if it's really upsetting you that much, maybe you should leave the room. Or if the comedian is being a piece of shit, you can scream back at them. I mean, this is just what's going to happen. You all are human beings with voices. But I think the comedy world is genuinely terrified, as if like, oh no, they can do that? But I thought we had this invisible shield of common decency, human decency, where I could say the worst possible things about them. I could be racist, I could be transphobic, I could be horrifying in every way, I could be as edgy as I wanted, and they can't do anything, and I get paid for it. I thought that was the deal. Didn't we have an agreement? Oh no, what's happening?
Announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. You know, that insult is going to last a very long time. If you want to yell from the...
Admiral Poppinfresh says, I feel like this is a bigger problem amongst the black community because traditionally black people believe they have to be less violent in order to be unjustly labeled as dangerous and undeserving of equality, and they have historical precedents to believe that. That is definitely a thing that plays into this. And you can see that in the way some people responded to this, like being utterly aghast to the point where, like, he was about to murder him. That was honorable. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking? He slapped him. Like, I had people who were losing their minds over that. I was like, have you never been slapped in the face? It's not a good feeling. It's horrible. This is assault by definition. I'm not taking any of that away from you. But god damn, are you playing into some weird tropes where you've just seen something and you're like, holy shit, the violence on display. I've never seen anything like this. Like, and now I'm going to watch MMA for 12 hours right afterwards.
Audience and disapprove or show a disapproval or say something on Twitter or whatever, you know, you do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
No, I agree. I think we all agree on that. I just thought, Jim, that it escalated to that, you know?
It sucks because every time I see Jim Carrey, and don't get me wrong, I grew up on Jim Carrey, okay? I love Jim Carrey movies. Like everyone else, I was just like, oh, who couldn't get enough Jim Carrey in their lives? Even with the pivot to more serious films, you know? Still like Jim Carrey, he's a treasure. But then when Jim Carrey gets political in the real world, it's always yikes. It's always, or if he gets too romantic in the real world, it's super yikesy true, where he's just like, man, I'm really attracted to this person who happens to have just turned 18. And you're just like, oh, that's weird. Or if it's like, oh, by the way, I'm not anti-vax. I just believe in, responsible vaccination. And as of now, people just don't know what the chemicals in vaccines do to their bodies. And then you're like, yeah, we do. The sentence you're saying that's what anti-vaccine is. That's anti-vax hysteria. We do know what those chemicals do. They've been very thoroughly tested. And just because you're not saying something horrifying like vaccines cause autism, that doesn't mean that right now you are not doing that thing out loud. You know, Jim Carrey today political isn't the greatest, but I heard that Jimmy Dore had some takes on this.
Sure, he's saying wife because of the. That feeds the joke structure, but some people see it as dismissive. Okay.
Now, if she loses, he can't win. He is praying that Will Smith wins. Like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
Now, you said everybody knows the story now. So now he's laughing. She's laughing. The people behind them are laughing. She's laughing. She's laughing. So everybody's laughing except her, who's the butt of the joke. Okay, and here we go. Because she's got alopecia. I don't know if that's how you say it. She has a condition that causes you to lose your hair.
Once again, Jimmy. Oh God! And Kurt Metzger's here, of course. Why is he the co-host of the show? When did that happen? It's always like, oh God, a wild Kurt Metzger appears. Yeah, I just want to be here to say that I'm not a transphobe, but I could definitely beat up or beat any trans male athlete in any competition, and you name it, cycling, swimming. Yeah, I could beat them. All right, I might not have any idea what I'm talking about, and I might get absolutely fucking destroyed by trans male athletes if I actually knew anything about this topic, but I'm an ally. All right, Jimmy, I'm an ally. We're allies together, right?
I just thought I didn't know it when I saw her. I thought she was just doing that, and honestly, she looks good. She's hard for her to not look good. I think she's just a good-looking person.
The joke is lame, but it's not really offensive. G.I. Jane was the sexiest person of the year when that movie came out. It all depends. I don't know what was going on behind the scenes. I don't have any information to characterize if that is something that they are very, very sensitive. I just think, as a rule of thumb, you should make jokes about people's medical conditions. Like, I think we all kind of understand that, right? Like, you wouldn't look to a person who has cancer and be like, yeah, nice chemo, bro. Like that, you'd be like, oh, what the fuck? And I understand that there's obviously a scale to this. There are more serious ailments than others, but like that's still, it's not good practice. You shouldn't do that, especially as a comedian. Like, okay, everybody, we need to detour here, and I need to show you a comedian using some of the most brutal, absolutely brutal takedowns of Machine Gun Kelly, and the creativity on display. Okay, this is got to be one of the most impressive new comedians. I'm not completely familiar with Ro Ramdin, but I was quite floored. Okay, just the talent on display. There is, and this is going to be directly related to what I was talking about. There is one joke in this list of burns. There's going to be 20 burns on Machine Gun Kelly in a row here, okay? This is going to be a speed run of Machine Gun Kelly burns. Now, as a comedian, as someone who loves comedy, who grew up watching comedians as heroes, they always have been my heroes, I've tried explaining to people that if you are insulting people and doing so, like insulting a marginalized community, even if it is in service of punching up, that you're effectively not going to be as good at what you do, both as a comedian and as someone who's trying to pass messaging across, be transgressive, whatever you want to say, because that it doesn't work that way. You can't be like, I can't be sexist to take down the transphobe. I can't be racist to take down the sexist. I can't blah, blah, blah. But I'm not saying that you cannot be mean, especially to very bad people. I mean, bullying bullies is basically what I do for a living, and it's what I've done my entire life. And in the case of Machine Gun Kelly, first off, if all of you are about to be like, well, why are we making Machine Gun Kelly is cool now? Isn't he based? I thought he became a punk rocker, and he's super goth in his love, and he carries a vial of Megan's blood around him at all times and all this. Machine Gun Kelly, if you didn't know, used to make so many yikesy comments about teenagers. He said that he really, really was attracted to Eminem's daughter. Eminem's daughter was 16 at the time, being like, oh, she's so fucking hot, I really want to have sex with her, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he was like a 20-year-old talking about a 16-year-old. Super, super yikesy. That's not the only example of that. There are multiple examples of him making statements like that, where you're just like, oh, can't wait till she's older, and the person was 17 or 16 at the time, talking about a 17-year-old again, talking about just a huge amount of things. Anyways, here is a professional comedian, far more talented than Jimmy Dore, about to do a speed run of burns on Machine Gun Kelly, of which only one that I could find, only one of them made fun of substance abuse. So that would be an example of, okay, in that case, you've gone into the edge a little bit. And this is not me being the joke police, but I'm just saying this person has so much talent.
Who fills in for managers when they have to go back to rehab. He does look similar. What does this man look like? Well, he does look like a regional director for Hot Topic who fills in for managers when they have to go back to rehab. He does look similar to some One who would win a BuzzFeed poll titled, "Which celebrity pushing 30 looks the most like a Lyft driver who's about to try to kill you?" I think if you develop a disposable film photo from a high school party, the wisps of MGK will be in the background like a poltergeist in a horror film, just posted like Slenderman, Blair Witching it in the corner. He looks like the most predatory ensemble member in a music video that takes place on a beach. Is that track? To me, whenever I look at a photo of him, it looks like he's always poured a few ounces of water into his gullet, and he's bracing his jaws to not let the water come toppling out like he was a bird bath. This is Porter Robinson if he drank a monster that just turned you evil. The AI-generated result...
That is such a good joke. This is Porter Robinson if he just drank a monster to turn you evil. Like, the creativity on display here. And I'm telling you, this is so much better than someone being like, here's a whole bunch of slurs. You're white, you're blah, all this kind of stuff, right? Like, there's so many good layers to these. And like, it requires creativity. Yes, it's not as easy as just insulting someone for their, like, you know, intrinsic values or something like that, but it's so much better. I mean that both from a complexity perspective, a humor perspective, from a writer's, you know, like how a wordsmith, if you will,
of the term skeleton plus Ross Lynch. He looks like a line cook who's perpetually going through a divorce, or at least a tumultuous separation. He's the kind of guy that gets called the F slur on Xbox Live and shatters his 32-inch Dell monitor with his bare hands. Scandinavian Unabomber. He looks like he runs an unofficial Barstool Sports Facebook account that keeps getting cease and desist from the actual Barstool Sports. Seems like the kind of guy who was really big into celibacy pledges all the way through middle school, but then he found out you could get laid for having a fender and never looked back. If you spray a full can of Raid on a Playboy magazine and leave it in a DIY studio for 6 hours on Harvest Moon, you could probably summon him with it. If he were strictly doing Hollywood, I feel like he would just get typecast as a serial killer constantly. I can imagine a season of American Horror Story just titled AHS MGK, which sounds like a trade union acronym, but I digress. He seems like he's a cashier at PacSun who would find a reason to shake your mother's hand while you're checking out with a pair of nylon cargo shorts. I'm getting the bangs all the way out of here. Like, who cares? Or a guy who works at GameStop and you ask him where you can find the new Batman Arkham game, and he tells you he doesn't know anything because he only works there so that he can get an employee discount on the Call of Duty Ghost Devastation DLC, so he can buy a bunch of them and resell them, and because of this he calls himself a self-starter and a small business owner. I'm 18 insults through, but I told myself I would write 20 of these. So come on, Rosie, rally. He seems like the kind of kid at a Catholic middle school who would get in trouble for trying to sell caffeine pills to the golf team. I am running on fumes here. He looks strikingly like an auto-generated Kinect avatar, like an Xbox avatar. Look, that may...
Again, that was 20 fast and furious insults thrown, and some of those cut deep. Some of those are incredibly vicious. Other ones are just fun and friendly. Other ones are kind of obscure that you wouldn't understand unless you are pretty deep into the lore of a lot of different nerd culture. But anyways, this is a pro. That is a pro at work and did not have to resort to things like his family history, his medical condition, his ethnicity, his sexuality, things like that. You know, so many detailed, amazing burns. And yes, obviously I'll share Rose's channel. No, we're not totally we have to watch terrible comedians for a little while as well. We have to balance this.
So she pulls it off, no problem. And I didn't even think that was an insult. I didn't think that was an insult. Did you think that?
I thought it was tepid
at best. It was the most mildest of insults. And here we go. And some comedians even thought it was a compliment. And I'm going to show you that later. Here we go. So look, they're all laughing. Everybody's laughing. Will Smith thinks it's funny. Except Jada. She doesn't.
Wait, what does any of this have to do with anything? Because she didn't laugh, she can't take a joke. That's what's on display here, clearly.
That was a nice one. Okay.
And even Chris Rock thinks that was a nice joke. That was really tame. It was. I think so. What do you think, Kirk?
G.I. Jane was in great shape.
Here we go. Ready? So now...
This is maybe the only thing I'll agree with him on. G.I. Jane was definitely very, very attractive. Yes.
Here it comes.
Here. Uh-oh, Richard. Oh, wow.
Now, Chris Rock was leaning in because he saw Will Smith laughing, and I'm sure he was smiling on the way up, so he thought he was probably going to do or say something funny. And then he just hit him. He assaulted him. That's called an assault. That's called a sucker punch. He didn't say put your hands up. He just walked over him and tried to, and he did. And Chris Rock just took it. Now, if that was me, I would have fell down and said call. I would have said call an ambulance. And because
it was a slap to the face. He walked up to him and he slapped him in the face. Like, you don't have.
I got a brain disorder now because that's
Like, do you know how fucking, like, what are you doing? What? You've never been slapped in the face before? What the hell? I don't understand this. You would have gotten a brain disorder from the raw fury of the One Punch Man, Will Smith. He was just like KO instantaneously.
That's what I would have done.
I would be honestly, because I have been with somebody, but somebody came and hit me because after show was on stage. That I would be in shock if I would stand there like, wait, did that just happen?
That's what it seemed like he was doing. He was like, so let's watch the rest of it. And the reason why this is important is because this is not uncommon to happen to comedians. This happens. Almost every comedian I know has a story. I have 3.
Yeah.
3 stories. So like once a decade, something like this happens to me personally. And now what this is doing is normalizing that. And now you're going to find that this is going to be happening a lot more.
How is it normalizing that? I don't like like even the Academy is like, we have to take a stand. We cannot believe such things. Both parties have said that they regret what they both said and did in this incident. Like overwhelmingly, the media has been like, oh, they're aghast. They're all clutching their pearls right now. They're like, I cannot believe such violence on display. Anyways, let's talk about Ukraine for a little while.
Wow.
So now
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
So now people think it's a joke.
Joke, yeah.
Out your fucking mouth. Wow, dude. Yeah. It was a G.I. Jane joke. Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. I'm going to.
No, he's screaming like screaming like a maniac. Oh, no, forget. I mean, he is screaming like an unhinged maniac.
That's what I consider a lot of your show to be. You're pointing about like a tweet by some random person on something you're talking about that you know nothing of, and you're getting so worked up about it. Oh, you see this? You see right here what they've done? How the fuck could they say such things?
Not a 400 millionaire, most celebrated celebrity in all of Hollywood. So this is entitlement. This is narcissism. This is entitlement.
Keep her name out your mouth. And if you want to eat her out, go through the proper channels. Call my assistant, make an appointment.
Still got it, Kurt. Wow.
A fucking award a couple minutes later.
Well,
the guy committed an assault on a host.
You gotta figure in, like,
again, if Chris Rock is like, I'm not pressing charges, that was a slap. He slapped the shit out of me. I regret what I said. I shouldn't have insulted, his wife in that way for medical condition. And that's the end of it. What do you have to do with any of this now? Like, either of you. This is just you're crossing into very weird territory. Oh, look at him. He's a raging lunatic. He's slapping him and he's punching him. Could have given him a concussion. I would have brain damage. I would have had brain damage if he had done that to me.
Their natural, racism that they fake isn't racism. They're probably like, well, he's probably there's some, what is that term? The soft bigotry of low expectation. They're doing that. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe you have to slap someone. That's that kind of nonsense. Like, I don't know. I think it was very 90s. It was like G.I. Jane reference and then like the Source Awards afterwards.
And he's unhinged and out of his mind and out of control.
Do you think the people around him felt safe?
That's what I said.
Somebody made a joke earlier, right?
What?
Do you think One Punch Man is going to run around the room just knocking everyone out? This is really starting to feel like the scary black man trope. And like Jimmy is leaning into it real hard. Like we're leaning into it it's a dude slapping another dude in the face. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I have to keep adding the asterisks to this. I don't think you should slap someone for like a joke they made at your expense. That being said, it was a fucking slap. It was a slap. Chris Rock is still standing. He continues to host the show. It's like he didn't go to the hospital. Why you play, like, you can see how like open-faced Will Smith makes his hand in that one famous like meme shot now. He's clearly indicating that he's slapping him, not punching him. It's like, you insulted me. Here's the slap.
What
about his wife?
Somebody and a woman, I read this too. I didn't see it. I didn't watch the Oscars, but a woman made a joke about his wife cheating on him because it's common knowledge that she's had affairs.
Jada made it common knowledge.
Jada made this common knowledge. She talked about it. And so everybody knows that she had an affair with this guy named August for years. For years.
I mean, I bet you that was probably the slap was more like that joke.
That's right. That's right. So let's watch a little more and watch how Chris handles it.
Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay. So we are here to give a documentary out, to give an Oscar out for best documentary. Now,
we went through some of the bad tweets. I know even Kyle Clancy was making jokes at this expense, but they're in an open relationship. They're not cheating on each other. There's no affairs, but both of them are in an open, consensually open relationship. Like, you'd think that like comedians, Hollywood, all these people would be able to wrap their head around that, but it seems like no one understands that concept. Is that one really that far left? Or is it just like I have never heard of such things. What is this polyamory you speak of?
the beauty of documentaries, because they make you, when you watch one, you feel smart. Like you watched them, like, you know, like you read a book or something. But all you really did was get high and watch Netflix. So here we go. Here we go.
Can you imagine?
So can you imagine having to stand there and keep your cool and give out an award after the biggest star?
I'll give you this big one for sure. Before you had my interest, now you have my attention. It starts with, yo, what's up, bro? All caps. Little sus, right? Anyone comes in here hot, all caps, you're probably thinking they're gonna start saying some pretty outrageous things, and then bides their time. They probably took a big old breath, and then, why the fuck are you watching this fascist comedy? Oh, I love it. It's like that moment in NBA Jam. It's like he's heating up. Like you were gaining those powers. You had to achieve your final form, and then
Hollywood just assaulted you on camera.
I have to say, I can. As a comic, that's a thing I can imagine. Got to do the rest of the show. I can't. I mean, I never got slapped by Will Smith in the middle of the show. That would really take a lot of the air out of my prepared material.
You see them all laughing. She's laughing. He's laughing. She's laughing. She's laughing.
Why do you keep bringing this up as the point? How does the dynamic change? If everyone here didn't laugh, if everyone was just like this, would suddenly everything be okay? Would it be warranted? Would you be fine with what transpired? Oh, here we are.
He tweeted out, the Academy does not condone violence of any form. Marianne Williams says, except you clearly do. And then right underneath that, Gritty is the Way says, you awarded a guy who committed assault on live television. That's
Gritty. Marianne Williamson. You don't have to, not like this. Not like this. You can go out and say the Academy has awarded someone an award who raped and drugged a 13-year-old. That you could be like, don't posture Academy Awards, but to be like, the Academy does not condone violence. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you did. Because the thing that was unscripted and done between two people who have agency and you do not have direct control over did something in the midst of the Academy Awards ceremony. That means effectively that you do condone this. You know, it's totally fine. Who did that? Roman Polanski.
We were afraid he'd slap us.
I think, like, correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong on this, but I think Harvey Weinstein still has his Academy Awards. He has like 81 Academy Awards. I don't think they've like recalled all his awards and said like he no longer qualifies. I could be wrong on that. But if not, I mean, it's Harvey fucking Weinstein. You know, the rapist, the guy who like jizzes on plants.
There were immediate discussions about removing Will Smith from the Oscars show after the smack, but the Academy's decision.
Stand up. That's how I stand up.
And the shit that people complained about that I did in my career, they wouldn't be complaining about it.
Yeah, isn't that the old comes for you?
Oh,
Chris Rock came.
I think it's an insult.
All right, that's what's so mind blowing.
Little worried.
Yeah,
that's what this is. He's a little worried.
Chris Rock said one of the most mild jokes ever.
It was pretty mild.
Jada Pinkett is bald. Apparently, I didn't know this. I found out after the fact that she didn't shave her head voluntarily. She shaved her head because she's suffering from alopecia.
Yeah, I didn't know this either.
So I don't know if Chris knew this, but Chris says a joke around G.I. Jane 2, looking forward to it, very mild, just laughed, and even said, come on, that was nice. And then Will Smith initially laughs.
Yes.
But it looked like Jada was upset. And so Will changes his tune, walks on stage, and smacks Chris Rock in the face at the Oscars. And then
why does everyone keep talking about this as if it's like if everyone else wasn't laughing? So if no one was laughing, then perhaps it could be warranted. But because also Will Smith laughed, because he laughed at the joke, he's not allowed to be upset by the joke. That's the thing. Like, have you never been in the midst of either laughing at things that are taking place around you, or just smiling at someone saying something terrible and be like, all right, motherfucker, I'm gonna slap you upside the head pretty soon, right? In the middle of it.
And says, keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth.
Yes, he does.
And then he goes, come on, man, that was a G.I. Jane joke. And he screams it out like,
keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. Yes.
And it's like his lips were quivering. And he, first of all, that whole scene doing that in that manner, in that place.
Once you've heard one comedian on the issue, you've heard them all. Well, I don't completely agree with that. I consider myself to be a comedian, and I think these takes are super yikesy. Jake Flores would highly recommend. He's a performing comedian in New York. He hosts Pod Damn America. He's made some really good posts about how outrageous everyone has been, especially in their takes of this. I mean, it just seems, to me, I was surprised that the internet was falling over themselves time and time again about like, okay, we have to pick a side. Are we team Will or are we team Chris? What's the deal here? What's the proper thing? And I was like, multiple bad things can be bad at once. You don't have to suddenly decide as if you could only be on one of the two parts of this. Like, you shouldn't hit people when they tell jokes, and also you shouldn't make fun of people's medical conditions or family members with medical conditions. Oh yeah. Okay, I don't even know if this one's real. This one, just because of who it is. If you don't know, Jeffrey Ross is someone who's very well known in the comedy circuits for his ability to roast. He considers himself to be the roast master general, which again is a self-appointed title, kind of a red flag there. But anyways, I worship Chris Rock. I cried when I saw Smith attack him because I was watching my idol live out a comedian's worst nightmare on live television. Rock should get a Nobel Peace Prize for keeping his hands down and not escalating the situation. Class act. If Jada wasn't feeling the jokes, Smith should have put his arm around her and let Rock finish. Anyways, I also have alopecia. It sucks, but when people make jokes, I laugh because that's life. Jeff.
Is a great example of what's wrong with the glorification of just being able to go up to someone and smack them in the face. Because that whole thing was so weird.
I disagree with you here.
Please do. But what is your take?
I want to let you.
Before
I want
my
you to finish though.
Well, no, you said you were going to disagree with me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I don't actually think that there's any glorification of violence in the sense of free capability on Will's part.
What do you mean?
There's no glorification of violence? What do we do in wartime? We're constantly glorifying violence. Action. What? We don't.
About that?
Well, for one, I don't think that there was any inherent given that you could just get away with it. I think that
the UFC. What? He's a UFC commentator. Oh, you're talking about Joe Rogan? Yeah, Joe Rogan is a UFC commentator. I have no idea who this is. I don't know what he does. Guessing he likes the UFC and the glorification of violence that takes place in there.
Whatever Will did, he did it, and he was like, whatever comes with it, that I'll have to own up to it.
I don't think he was thinking that far ahead at all.
Maybe he wasn't, but
I
maybe
think
he's
he was
like
being
in this
emotionally
moment,
fragile,
probably,
and he acted on impulse.
Sure,
and I think it's a foolish impulse that you do when you know there's no consequences.
I
so
don't
you're
think.
hitting
But
a
here's
very
the thing:
small
I'm going to say
person.
that I don't know that he thinks that there's now in terms of hitting Chris.
He's an ex-fighter. Are you serious? Holy fuck! He's a mixed martial art. What the fuck are you talking about? Your job was glorifying violence. What the fuck? We just can't glorify violence. There has to be no place in society for the glorification of violence.
In terms of them and their physical differences and capability of combat, let's say, yes.
There's no consequences.
But I'm saying, but there's no consequences in getting out of your seat and striking somebody on national television.
Yeah, but I don't think he was thinking about that. I think he was acting
Simply
impulsively.
in terms of man to man and who's capable and what's capable. And you know what? That may be the case in the microcosm of things. But if you hit anybody for any reason in public at this point, you have the very real fact of all of the powers of law that be, especially depending on who you are, and what the public and the cathedral thinks of you, smashing you to death until you're penniless, bankrupt, and everyone hates
that's
you.
Stop. That's not going to happen here. Like,
Probably
that's
not.
never going to happen.
Probably
He just smacked him.
But
he didn't beat the shit out of him. He didn't.
Wait, is this the privilege thing again? Because I saw a lot of weird takes online also being like, this would have never happened if it was a white person. A white person immediately would have been arrested the moment he stepped on that stage. But no, it was because Will Smith is black that he was allowed to get away with this egregious crime. And you're like, what are you smoking? Where can I buy it? It seems to be quite a powerful agent right now.
Harm him.
But, I mean,
Smacked him in the face
we
and
live in a
humiliated
society
him.
where violence is so.
But there's no way. There's no way Will Smith's going to become penniless from smacking Chris Rock. That was never.
You wouldn't think so. You wouldn't think
he's
so.
extremely wealthy.
That's the thing I don't understand. This. Why are people blowing it into such a thing? Like it's just wild to me. It was a slap. like you've seen it a million times. You host a show where people slap each other, and I know his response would be like, "Well, yes, but that is in a fight. It's consensual between two people. We have grounds for this, all this kind of stuff." I was like, "Yeah, fine. He shouldn't have done that. No one should do that. I'm not saying that this is a good thing, but the fact that you're blowing this into like Jimmy Dore saying that he could have given him brain damage, that this was like one of the most vicious assaults I've ever seen, and now this weird take on top of that, it's like it's wild. It's absolutely wild.
Or ones that are you and I think of how important.
But a fucking MMA, like he's a professional fighter, and it's the host of the show, of the professional fighting show, both being like, I don't know. I mean, should we be glorifying violence on live television?
Or what the weight of what Chris said was, just removing us out of the equation. If it's really that important to Jada, and therefore it then becomes important to Will, then he should deal with it on a personal level.
Oh God, no. People like, we live in the worst timeline. Well, you can literally all watch O.J. Simpson opine on Will Smith slapping Chris Rock in the face. I don't even know if I want to. Part of me is like, if I don't hit play and turn the sound on and never watch this, it just isn't a part. Like, it isn't a part of my timeline. I have the power to do this consciously, right? And I'm doing it. And the window is closed. It can't hurt me. I just did a thing, and I feel better for it. Whoa! It just instantaneously. This is great. I'm gonna do this more often. Yeah. No, Big Joel. No, it's not in my timeline. No, you can enjoy that though. Enjoy that for all it's worth. I have no idea what his opinion is on the matter. Yeah, and I don't care to. I'll leave it there. He says as he returns to watching Joe Rogan.
And have a conversation with Chris before anything.
Of course.
Because you have to give someone the opportunity, because one, you have to assume potentially that Chris had malicious intent in what he had to say.
I do too, Wavy
Well,
Lens.
how do you have malicious intent in a mild joke?
Tell me about it.
No,
I'm
it's
saying
nonsense.
I don't agree that he did.
I'm telling you, dude, this is all rational thinking about an
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's subjective, right? How bad the joke was is going to be in the eyes of Will Smith in this case, because he's the one who was insulted enough to turn to violence. I was kind of curious what Legal Eagle had to say, but Legal Eagle just kind of goes into like, this is assault territory. I pre-watched some of this one,
Chris Rock your room.
which, like, yeah, technically legally he is correct, right? That, like, by the definition in a textbook of law, he's like, there's just not really
Kind of roasts go. And on top
Elizabeth with a Z, thank you for the prime. I appreciate
of
it.
it, the crowd was already against Rock. This is an insane setup for what.
Wilco has a comment here. White people caught a glimpse into our family reunions and lost their damn minds. Like, Wilco, I'm going to say, not even, like, I'm saying this as someone who's not black, like, I've been slapped so many times and seen other people slap each other. Like, I just thought that was a normal part of like what people do when someone else has pissed them off to a certain degree, right? It's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, whoa, someone's gonna slap each other, I've seen it at family reunions, I've seen it at friends parties, I've seen it when people have had way too much to drink. When I saw that, like, I immediately was like, whoa, because it's like it's happening between two very famous rich people on this world stage. But I afterwards was not like, what? The crime that has been committed, Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback, because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to conduct many a human sacrifices in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble yet incompetent jesters, trying in vain to bring some levity into your life. To our Lord Trevor R., we give you thanks for this meager plot of land for us to toil away our pathetic existence. To our brave knights, Carl Wauer, Tony, D.M. Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruben Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Nate, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tal, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We salute our mighty heroes off to conquest some bread in some far-off land.